We started building out this technology. We started getting globally just thousands of people starting to sign up for this thing. And I was just like, wow, like seeing something come to life in a way that I'd never seen anything come to life before.
Do you think AI is sentient?
What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it as human-like as possible in every way. So it's really about how do we replicate every single part of humanity. That's what they're going after. There's parts of AI which are good, but also at the same time, it's moving so fast without guardrails. I don't think people realize quite how big it's going to get.
Stoked to be in the room. A good friend of our YWAM Furnace community, Rory Birkbeck. Bro, it's just so good to have you in the room.
Thanks, James. So good to be here.
Thank you for jumping on and taking time to be with us.
Yeah, man.
So if you don't know who Rory is, he's head of SafeSurfer and just pioneering some amazing works in the online world, but also a YWAMer. What do they say? Once a YWAMer, always a YWAMer. And I just saw, man, you're someone who is, one of our key values in the mission is influencing the spheres of society and being a real like kingdom voice into the world around us. And I just see you as exactly that in the online world. So you've been doing some incredible, interesting things, developing smartphone tech with Samsung. You guys just released a new smartphone, kid-friendly smartphone, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I guess just to give you a bit of background about SafeSurfer, we've been going for about 10 years.
Yeah.
But my journey, obviously, with YWAM has been quite a bit longer than that. So I think I did my DTS in 2009. And to be honest, I just was absolutely wrecked for Jesus. You know, like I came out of that time just going, I don't want to live for the weekends anymore. You know, I want to live for eternity. And so I think that there was something in just being able to give out to other people in terms of compassion and love that I learnt through YWAM that kind of carried me, that I didn't want to just have an ordinary job. You know, I didn't want to just, like I'd come from a tech background, you know, and I'd done lots of different roles in technology, but at the same time, I just carried this heart for people. And so I really wanted to find my sweet spot, you know, and so when we first got married, me and my wife in 2013, the first thing I did when I came back from honeymoon was I remember sitting in our house and just praying the first day I came back and saying, Lord, what do you actually want me to do with my life? You know, I've done lots of different things up to this point, but actually, you know, what do you want me to do? And I just clearly felt him say, you know, like these are all of the people who are really hurting in the world, you know, and particularly the ones through the online space.
Yeah.
So even, you know, through the scams, through the bullying, through the pornography, through all of the different aspects of technology that was kind of fracturing people at that time, and even social media. And so there was a number of ideas that I was kind of saying, oh, I could do this.
When did you say this was? 09?
This was 2013.
Oh,
so
2013,
4 years after I did my DTS.
That's awesome.
So did my DTS, did some amazing outreaches, you know, with to Fiji and even Papua New Guinea, and really just went out with, you know, these amazing YWAM groups who teach you how to serve, who teach you how to go to the, you know, to the ends of the earth, and to help people and just to be there, you know, and to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so I came through all of that, as I say, fairly, like you say, you know, with YWAM, you have these core values kind of built into you. You know, you want to raise the next generation, you want to encourage, you want to build up, all of those types of things. And so all of those threads were kind of coming through. And so when I came into just praying and going, okay, God, you know, what is it for me? I had a clear vision where he showed me just a house near where my parents live. And I was like, giving something to someone. And I didn't know what it was then, because it actually took a number of years. Like it didn't just all happen, you know, the mission of SafeSurfer. It took a few years and I worked in a few jobs. But then one of my friends came to me and he said, hey, I've really got this burden for just wanting to help support families online and also my own family. And so I said, okay, you know, let's jump into that. And he was really good at building technology. And so that's what he did.
Was that your background before jumping into all of this? Had you studied code and all of those things?
Yeah, I
Is
was
that
I
something
was
you're
a
familiar
software developer for 5 years, you
Yeah.
know. So it was a really unique background
Yeah.
coming into YWAM, and obviously then doing none of that
with? Yeah.
for absolute years, you know, and then sort of being
What I love about your story is
Mm.
like for those who might be wondering, like, I want to jump in a mission, I want to serve God, and I want to be, you know, an influence in the kingdom, but I don't preach and I don't play an instrument. Like those are kind of often the things, or I'm not a podcaster, I'm not an upfront sort of a speaker type.
Mm.
And I think sometimes we get these boxes that we put those constraints into, like that's what serving God is looking like the preacher on the stage, but actually like seeing your story and just hearing, the little bit so far is just like you can actually take whatever's in your hand, like what's in your hand, the time, talent, treasure that you have, the gifts and the strengths. And I just love that you brought that before the Lord, like God, just even that question of like, how do I serve you? What do I have that I can give to you? And so carry on, man. That's awesome.
I think God takes what's in your hand, as you said, you know, and even He redeems it, you know, and He redeems it for Himself. And so I had a number of people praying that over me at that time, and so it was a really interesting time because SafeSurfer was kind of born as this mission to protect young people through technology, education, and advocacy. So really diving in deep into those issues that we all kind of face online, head first. And it was kind of technology led. And so we started building out this technology. We started getting globally just thousands of people starting to sign up for this thing. And I was just like, wow, like this is amazing. Like just seeing something come to life in a way that I'd never seen anything come to life before. Like I had been an entrepreneur before, I'd done different things, but this was quite a bit different. But also you still have the pioneering phase, you know, so you're still going through all of the challenges, all of the hurdles. Financially, it was extremely difficult for us because, we were trying to figure out where are we going to pay our mortgage, how are we going to pay our mortgage next, but just
so this was full time for you. You stepped in.
I didn't step in originally just completely full time. It was sort of about a part time thing, and I was still doing some contracting for about a year or 2 years. But basically, it was really a full time gig, and so I didn't have time for much else, and so it was very little other work on the side. But it was sort of and it was around the time that we had my son, first child.
So just to give context for people listening, what is SafeSurfer? Like, we've heard a little bit of the story of it, but what is it exactly?
Yeah, so it's a technology platform that anybody can sign up for. So you can go to safesurfer.io, and basically you can download the applications to protect your family. So really the core of it is that actually we kind of need help with technology, and so putting some healthy blockers in place is actually a good thing for us. So
it's not just like a porn blocker.
No.
It's a lot of apps are.
Yeah, that's right.
It's much wider than that.
It is much wider than that. It's really about which apps you want to choose to delay, or you want to kind of start off with setting, because it's about SafeSurfer. So SafeSurfer is about the beach and the flags and surfing safely. And so that's what we've taken. We've taken those analogies of safety and we've applied them to the online world.
And you guys wrote a little book as well, like a kid's book. We've got it at home, and I often read it with my kids. Like it's been so helpful for me, and it just brings what you guys are doing with SafeSurfer and the dangers of like surfing the web into like kids' language, so understandable. Like we've got a 6-year-old at home, and even he's understanding that. So sometimes we'll be at home, he'll be watching a video on YouTube, and he'll just like start clicking on stuff, and I'm like, hey, no, buddy, like remember there's sharks in the water, there are dangerous things out there, like we want you to surf well, and we want you to be safe in this. And so it's helped us as parents in our home, and I know so many other families who you guys have helped. One thing I'd love to hear from you, if there's anything else you want to share on that, would be awesome, but just like is some encouragements through your journey, or just for anyone listening, how we can bring God into, like, again, I just love that you've taken the gifts and talents that you have into that world, the online world. What encouragements could you give to people listening, like how they could take their gifts and talents as well into the online world? And even as well, questions like around my question would be around how do we navigate the online space moving forward? with intentionality. And what are you seeing coming on the horizon as well with like all the updates with AI? Like it seems like every single day there's some new development taking place there. I don't know if that's too broad a question. There's a lot in there.
No, it's good, James. Let's dive in. So I think it's amazing that you guys picked up the kids' book and you've been reading it with your kids. That was really the dream for me. Writing that book was just seeing, hey, actually, there's so much that we need to give our kids before they start going online. And so even in the really early age, even in preschool age, there's so much education we can give them. There's so much good advice, so many tools that we can kind of equip them with so they have the literacy, they have the understanding before they jump in. And so that was the heart behind the book, but also the message of SafeSurfer, and really we want to see that a lot wider for people where we have all of this analogy for the beach and everybody knows, okay, when we go to the beach, this is what we do. We swim between the flags, but very little of that exists in the online world, which is quite crazy when you consider that we're giving our kids devices very, very early, and so there's just so much really cool, creative resources that we can actually build in order to be able to give to our kids so they can know, and they can go through it. And so, that's what I think. God is a creator, and so he gives us all of those creative abilities. And so I think that for me, like that has been largely just part of the journey, just tapping into that, because it's always about how do we give the message in a really simple and clear way. And so that's kind of the part of the story which I'd really like to see accelerated, where people just see and understand, and there's a much greater ability for parents to teach themselves, for schools to teach, and all that messaging to kind of filter down.
I find that so helpful because it is like, as a parent, like I scratch my head some days going like, how do I navigate this world that is fast dawning upon us, It's a beautiful, like the amount of opportunities that are there is fantastic. But yeah, like you were saying, like when you see parents give their kids these phones at such a young age without the tools ready, it's like you might as well be giving the kid a weapon. Like honestly, its potential for good is fantastic and phenomenal, but also the potential for harm is so real as well.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you just like actually giving people advice and encouragements.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, just having restraint about when we do give devices. We, like you said, we've developed this amazing partnership with Samsung so that there's a kid-safe smartphone option available here in New Zealand. So parents can really pick and choose a basic phone with a couple of apps, that kids will have to start off with. But, overall, I think the way that technology has bombarded our lives, and there's so much noise, and so I think that all of that is something that we don't necessarily need to throw on kids straight away.
Yeah.
And so there's, in sort of, I guess telling our kids about the Lord and who he is, there's just so much noise at the moment, and even for all of us. So, there's just some simple things we can do, like making sure that we're not picking up our phones the first thing we do in the morning, and that's, and maybe reading the Bible or something, or praying, rather than like we just all cling to that first moment of like, okay, where's my phone? As soon as I wake up, like we're all kind of on that mouse wheel.
100%.
And so I think that just those delays, I think there's just so much wisdom in how we conduct ourselves.
Yeah.
And really that's the restraint, I guess, that we want to teach through SafeSurfer.
I love that.
Particularly, in the age of AI, which, as you said, is so incredible, the technology we can build, for good, and how we can really use it to help others, in our case with SafeSurfer, but at the same time, it's just like there is such a wave and such a movement that's been built up, which is being built and chosen in the way that it's been designed, specifically to be addictive, specifically to be alluring, and like even now we've kind of moved, and we all know the engagement of social media and how powerful that pull has been, and the whole advertising world. But now we're moving into a world of of attachment, where AI is going to start to try and attach itself to our kids through AI companions and AI companionship. And so if you look at some of the stats now for even like ChatGPT, personal therapy is the number one thing that ChatGPT is used for.
Wow.
And so
like an actual personal counselor / friend / guru / everything.
It is. So rather than them going, okay, we're going to try and replace Google search, as our competitor, they're actually saying, well, now we're going to try and replace your closest relationships, and so I don't know if you've seen, but I know some people when they've started, have names for ChatGPT, and they call it chat or Chad or whatever it is. And so all of a sudden it's become a person to them, and it's no longer about this computer, like it's an it at the end of the day, but for them it's now become a he or a she.
Yeah.
And so
sentient being.
Yes, that's right. And so it's a really interesting world.
What do you think about that? Do you think AI is sentient?
Oh, look, I think that the
it's
technology...
It's a big debate, isn't it?
Oh, no, look, I mean, I think from a fundamental Christian basis, I think we know how intricately we're designed. We're amazing, like in terms of the ability for God to create a human being. And I think that if you look at AI, really what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it as human-like as possible in every way. Yeah. So it's really about how do we replicate every single part of humanity or a human being, literally, and so it's super intelligence is really that's what they're going after. And as I said, like there's parts of AI which are good, but also at the same time, it's moving so fast without guardrails. It is using a lot of information. There's not a lot of concern for privacy, for security, for all of these types of things. And so we sort of know intrinsically that it's kind of another pull, like social media. In fact, I call it social media 2.0. Yeah. Because I don't think people realize quite how big it's going to get. But
what are your predictions for it? I know that's a huge question, but what are your predictions for where things are going and just what you're seeing? And then with that, so a lot of our audience base are younger people in their younger 20s. What encouragements could you give to them just navigating what feels a little bit like a minefield, but just how we can equip ourselves and to actually maintain that AI remains a tool and not, like you say, a dependency?
Yeah, so I think, there is absolutely going to be some form of what we would call super intelligence, which will be artificial intimacy, which we're already seeing in some way, shape or form. So we all know how clever AI is. We all know how quickly it's developing. But at the end of the day, it's not human, So what we can demonstrate that what the world wants to see, wants to know is authentic relationship. And this is what Christ is, authentic relationship. It's reaching out to the least of these, it's about true religion, to feed the orphans and the widows, to defend the vulnerable. So the more and more that we go into this world, the more and more Christians are going to shine, because there's going to be an authentic version of reality, because people are going to get so fed up. They're going to get more and deeper into this world of just artificial, and they're going to...
I'm already finding that. Like, I'll be scrolling, I'll find myself on Reels or whatever, and I'll see something and I'm like, it'll take me like 3 or 4 times, where it used to, even a year ago, it was like, oh, that's so obviously AI. Now I'm like, oh man, like, is it not? Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of put me off in some ways, because I'm like, I want authentic. I want real. I don't want reels. I want real, like authentic, actual, like, give me humanity again.
It's going to be very hard for us to decipher what is real and what is not, through videos, through photos. Like, you can already see that. I'm the same,
Oh yeah. Even like emails, like there's something about like the rough and the raw that it's like, it's not polished, it's not perfect, but it's human.
Exactly.
Do you feel like there's going to be a drawing back to that? Like I don't know if I was telling you this, but my someone, I won't name who, they had a new manager come into their sphere. That he works for a big outfit, and she wasn't doing a wonderful job, and I think people had made it quite obvious to her, and she ended up leaving. And in her leaving email, she sends this big email out to everyone, and it was this, he's reading through it. It feels really heartfelt and whatnot. But then he gets to the very end, and they'd forgotten to take out. It was obviously ChatGPT, right? Because it was like, oh, would you like me to cater this to more of a different audience? Like, forgot to take out that very bottom part.
Yeah.
And they just it became this big running joke within the organization. But it's like, man, we want the real, we want the raw, we want the true, what's authentic, even if it's a little rough. It's human.
It is. And as you say, generative AI, like you see it everywhere. Now, you know it, when you read it, you see it. And so I think that's really the call, is going to be back to core community. It's going to be back to what we can trust, and what we can know is real. And so I don't know, for me, that's really exciting. Like as a parent, to be able to engage deeper with my kids, to be able to engage deeper with my friends, and so I think that is the, in a world which is shifting and changing, that's the power in it. And then also the ability to do what we're doing, which is actually to have a voice and to be able to help people in what they are seeing is probably fairly uncertain times at the moment.
Yeah. Do you have any last encouragements you'd like to give those listening?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess for me, like we're looking to build out an amazing online safety platform for people so that they don't have to worry so much about the pitfalls of AI and all those types of things. And so, for young people, it's really about how do we raise that generation, without them falling into the pitfalls of AI or technology or social media or whatever it is. And so I guess it's a call for all of us, to equip young people and to help the young people around us, because they are facing technology that we never faced. We're talking about godlike little g technology, which is trying to manipulate them, trying to get hold of them, trying to attach itself to them. And so I think the vision that I have is really about how do we help that generation untangle, because we know Youth with a Mission, how the waves of young people going out, and how incredible that is, and how equipped they are. And so just seeing, even for our team and the young people that I employ, how they are equipped to actually tackle and help people with the next phases of what technology is going to bring. And so it's sort of encouraging from that perspective, when we see actually we've sown in for a long time, and now we're starting to see the fruits of that, and we're starting to see all of these young people start to rise up and go, actually, that is artificial. I don't want that. I actually want the real. I want the authentic. And so I think that is probably the biggest encouragement for me, because I love raising young leaders. I love being able to empower people, see them flourish in their gifts. And I think probably a lot of that has come through from kind of YWAM core values and teaching. But it just gives you life, and so I hope that's helpful in terms of just sharing with you guys today. And just thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, I appreciate your time, man, and thank you for just all that you're doing with SafeSurfer and what other things that you have your hands on, and just really believing for a generation to rise up who are equipped to navigate that world that is already upon us. But I'm just really encouraged just hearing what you're sharing, and just all that you're doing for the kingdom, bro. Thank you, Rory.
Thanks, James. Cheers.
Appreciate you, man. Where can people find and get a hold of SafeSurfer, and also anything else that you guys have going on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just through our website, safesurfer.io is probably the best place to find all of our resources. Also, flick us an email, connect with us. It'd be great.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks so much, bro. And thanks to everyone coming on and listening. Again, don't forget to rate, subscribe, do all those things. Until next time, ka kite.